code, a mafiosi code. We keep each other's secret. It's only when you break rank, you go there and expose us, and for that, we're going to kill you politically. It's the code of the Cosa Nostra. As long as we stay together, we will survive together. And we agree not to breach the code of secrecy.
And that, my friends, is what it's all about. And welcome back, friends, to another episode of Viewpoint, the Heeraman podcast. This is episode number 45. Thursday, October 21st. Mark that day on your calendar. Mark that day as a turning point in this country when everything officially started to fall apart. Remember that day. Remember the activities, the events that transpired on that day. Because that day, you'll have to tell your children, you have to tell everyone you know what happened. Because everyone is going to be talking about that day in the future. So, before we get into it, friends, allow me to take this opportunity to remind everyone that this podcast can be found on all major podcasts and up, including iTunes, Google Podcasts, YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, and Spotify. So, I want to jump right into everything because we have a lot to cover and I don't want to go too long, so let's get into it one time. Someone they ask about what transpired on this now infamous day, they would have you believe that the president survived a motion to have her removed from office. Well, and most people in Trinidad would probably call it an impeachment scenario, but we don't really have impeachment hearings. We have motions to remove the president from office. And they would tell you that how the president survived that how the government had the majority in parliament and they voted to support her. But that's not the full details. That is just the tip of the iceberg. What actually transpired on that day was the death of democracy. The events that took place in that parliament showed you how democracy is now dead. That we are now under what is a dictatorship in Trinidad and Tobago. Many people will want to accept that, or want to believe that. But the events on that day showed you that. You can't tell me that how while the opposition brought a motion for the removal of a president, the Speaker of the House decided how she won't have a debate. Obviously, she's been controlled by the government because she's appointed by the government. They have the majority in parliament. But no right-thinking person could tell me that how you bring a motion as critical as the removal of a president from office and there's no debate. I mean, consider the scenario. You go to court, you're accused of a crime, and the judge just looks at you and just pronounces judgment on you without a trial, without even debating or not even discussing, hearing the evidence in any single regard. Just finds you guilty and sends you to prison. Well, that's exactly what took place in Parliament on that day. The opposition brought a motion for the removal of the Parliament, and there was no debate. They went straight to a vote. As a matter of fact, the opposition leader wasn't even allowed to completely read the motion that she brought. And there was just a vote. Now, obviously, regardless of whether she was allowed to read the motion in its entirety or not, the government had the required votes to ensure that the president was not going to be removed from office. But I want you to note something that I mentioned in the last podcast with regards to the independent senators. I have always spoken about these so-called independent senators and how they are not really independent. The good thing about the motion that took place on Thursday was the fact that they were now on record. They have now placed themselves in the glaring public eyes so that everyone now knows that how they are not independent. What action did they vote on Thursday? There was no debate, no evidence presented. They just simply sat in their chair, and when they were asked to vote, they supported the president. You see, everyone wanted to believe that all these senators are independent, that how they stand up for some sort of principle, that they're bastions of some last league before everything falls apart. But they are not. They are just towing the line of the president, and the president is now officially towing the line of the government, of the PNM. People could say what they want. You and I both know, folks, everyone out there know now and forever that regardless of what this president does, no matter when she does it, who she appoints, her office is now officially tainted and not just tainted by bias, but tainted by political bias, because she has now joined the ranks of the government, of the ruling party. Like I said, this is what happens when you appoint people who are basically political hack. But the shocking thing about the appointment of this president when she was appointed the first time around was the fact that she's a learned judge. She's a learned judge. She's a court of appeal judge. She came from that background. I mean, if this is her behavior after being appointed a president, one has to question what she did while she was a judge. I mean, it's scary to even think about how she operated as a judge. If this is her behavior now, having to deal with the entire situation of the presidency. One question, what took place? What changed? I mean, is it the fact that she now realized that, oh, you know what, I'm no longer a judge, I can now adjust my behavior accordingly? Is that it? You see, folks, I've always said, when you don't appoint people with high integrity and moral values and character, they will just change, just like that on you. And this is what we're seeing with this president here. She has appointed 9 independent senators. Every last one of them voted not to impeach her. 100%. Just like that, off the bat. They had no evidence, as I mentioned before, but they just supported her. As a matter of fact, even after the vote was taken, some of these same so-called independent senators came out and were chastising the opposition for what they did. I think one of them mentioned the parliament, the entire debate was like not debate, the entire day of that session in parliament was a fish market. We have an ex-senator, well, it's amazing to me to hear this one, Paul Richards, who likes to walk around as though, he's some sort of, he's a perfect one. He and all, on record, they cannot come to the public anymore and pretend to be independent. And that is one thing that I take away from this, from that session. That's how they are exposed. Everyone knows that how these senators are independent only in name. No one should even give them a second thought when they come around with the entire fake image of independence. Another thing I took away from this whole debate on Thursday was that on Friday morning, the media. Well, you all know when it comes to the media, especially the print media, I am no fan of them. The media on Friday morning was celebrating in what could only be seen as the death of democracy. That's how the president survived. Whatever is said and done, regardless of what you think, whether you follow a political line, a party line, or whatnot, the question that everyone needed to be asked is whether the president overstepped her bounds, whether she made a mistake with regards to how she interpreted what she needed to be done, whether she didn't follow the law, the constitution, the highest law in our land, in terms of forwarding the list that she got, whether she gave back the list. We don't know the full details. I mean, she did say that she received the list, but it was taken back from her under what authority she gave back this merit list. We don't know. But the fact remains, everyone should be able to agree, as per the constitution or how it was written, the president made a mistake. And she made a critical mistake that led to the collapse of the entire Police Service Commission, that led to there being no appointed commissioner of police at this point in time, or acting commissioner of police. And for those reasons alone, for the fact that she made a mistake, that she did not follow the constitution, what she swore oath to uphold, she should have resigned. She should have been removed from office for that particular reason. She now joins the ranks with every other political hack that this government appoints. She now joins the ranks of the Chief Justice, who is literally in the Prime Minister's hand, because he knows the day he doesn't follow the Prime Minister, he's going to be a tribunal that's going to be formed to impeach him. The same thing is going to happen now with this president. She owes her entire survival in that house, for however long she is in that president house, on the Prime Minister, to ensure that how that majority support in his cabinet does not bring back Section 36 to have her removed from office. So this is where we are at right now. And for the Speaker of the House, I want to talk about the Speaker because, her behavior was nothing short but atrocious. That, I mean, just listening to her, how she behaved, watching. Do you know that how when the opposition members were attempting to speak in Parliament on that day, she apparently kept her hand on the button to prevent their mics from being turned on, so that you cannot hear what the opposition members were saying, so that what the opposition members were saying could not be recorded on Hansard. Could you imagine that? And she had the audacity to say to the opposition members that how it was because of their desk thumping that the mics were not picking up their voices anymore. I mean, a blatant lie by the Speaker of the House of Representatives, having called electoral college, will make such a glaring lie. Where independent senators, did it say anything about that? No. But you have the Prime Minister coming back and repeating that very same lie. That desk thumping caused the mics not to pick up the opposition voice or cause some sort of disruption in the entire system. Where's the media? Did the media say anything about that? But no. Come Friday morning, they were celebrating the death of democracy. No debate, no trial, nothing of the sort. Pronouncement about what happened to the president. It's amazing how things happen in Trinidad and Tobago. It's amazing. One more thing I want to say on this topic. You see this Media Association of Trinidad and Tobago? It's a total waste of time. They have now joined the ranks as well of the ruling party. They have someone by the name of Heeraman too, a wannabe feminist. I mean, Asha Javid, who's a vice president. I mean, we can go on and examine this Media Association of Trinidad and Tobago. They have no role to play. Every single institution in this country has now become political. And this dictatorship that everyone thought was creeping, well, it's now galloping. All red lines have been crossed. Every institution now is no longer independent. There's no towing the political line of the government. You see, this president attempted to appoint new police service commission members. One of the members he attempted to appoint to was a known political activist for the PNM. She apparently withdrew that person's name. I think his name was Kaulasa or something like that. But she withdrew that name. No matter how much people she appointed to this commission now, to this new commission, it will always be seen as being a commission tainted. And that is something that she has to live with. And I'm sure she will live with it quite comfortable. And that new police service commission that she appoints, they are going to handpick a merit list with people who the government is going to support to ensure that they get a commissioner of police that they want, that they desire. It's amazing that how, with all of this going on with regards to the police service commission and the president and turmoil, the government and chaos with regards to this dictatorship, that people will even accept appointments in these commissions anymore. At some point in time, one has to consider what your legacy holds for you afterwards. I hear that there's a name, Justice Jones, and next High Court judge who's now being placed on the Police Service Commission. How does she expect anyone to look at her afterwards, taking up that appointment, given the chaos that's taking place with regards to these commissions? Obviously, they're going to assign her, rightfully or incorrectly, to some political party. It's just a plain and simple. I'm shocked that anybody would take appointments up with all the stuff going on. But that's where we are right now. That's what we are living with. That's what we have to continue to face on a day-to-day basis. Every independent institution is gone now. It's totally gone because of what transpired in Parliament on that day. Like I said, keep that date in your calendar. It's going to come back. It's definitely going to come back because when they have the police commissioner they want, they may very well get that police commissioner they want, and I suspect that they will. And that person is going to be answerable to the Prime Minister. Not officially, but haven't selected someone of their own for their very own liking. That person is going to carry out the instructions as per the Prime Minister's wishes. You're seeing what's taking place with regards to this. Now, you would have known that I'm no fan of the previous Commissioner of Police, Gary Griffith. I don't like his style. I don't like his behavior. I don't like how he talks to people. I mean, to me, since he came into the Commissioner of Police, nothing has been done with with regards to numbers of crime. I mean, as a matter of fact, we are under a state of emergency, and crime is still running rampant. There's still murders as ever. There's nothing has changed with regards to that. And to top it off, all he seems to do is just seem to talk tough, or try to talk tough, or try to song tough. We see what took place with regards. I mean, the commissioner of police is entitled to hire whoever he wants to support him in his day-to-day activities. But did you hear the kind of salaries that these people were being paid? Rightfully, maybe, I don't know. But what they did to Gary Griffith in terms of how they appointed him and in terms of how they suspended him while he was acting was wrong. He shouldn't have to go through that, as I said in the previous episodes. But that doesn't take away from the fact that you had 3 years while you were Commissioner of Police, Gary Griffith. You did absolutely nothing with regards to all these accusations that are being made, that you are making right now, and accusations that are being made against you right now for what you brought about. You slept with dogs, and now you're getting fleas in it. And as the sad thing about it, all those people who you hired with you, and all the fancy large salaries that they were getting, they have now been terminated. All in a bid just to spite you. Just to spite you. That is what you brought them through. I don't know how they're going to manage here after that. I know some of the names. Maybe they could survive after the terminations for a while. But you did this to them. You brought them in there. You played games. And now because of your gamesmanship, these people are out of a job. That is something that you have to live with. And the last point I want to say about this is the fact that what's going to happen now after they get the commissioner of police of their liking. I've spoken about this before. The Gestapo police service is now going to be in full swing. And that's something that we're going to have to talk about later on in another episode as we examine what's going to transpire. What's going to transpire thereon. But switching over to another topic, this whole situation and scenario with COVID-19, folks, I want to be the first to sort of warn you out there that this government, that this Ministry of Health, with their bunch of incompetent doctors who are leading this COVID-19 battle, they are priming you up for another lockdown. All this talk about how many hundreds of cases are being are being infected again on a daily basis, and deaths and Delta variants. All of a sudden they're finding Delta variants. I wanted to test everybody from now on for the Delta variant, or if it's just COVID-19, or if it's just Brazilian variant. We don't know. But they're using these words, Delta variants. They're priming you up to let you know that something is going on out there while not giving you the entire truth. I mean, if you test 1,000 people a day and you get 5 Delta variants, what are the other causes, the other types of COVID-19 now they're going on? But they're using the word Delta variant. They have outused the usefulness of Brazilian variant of normal COVID. So they now come with the Delta variant. This is a new variant. This is a new method of starting back some sort of renewing some sort of SOE, shutting it down, starting it back up, whatever. But they are priming you back up for another shutdown. And having said that, I heard this Dr. Richards, Abdul Richards, talking about 96% of the ICU beds are full, using the numbers, the number 96%, to let you know how we are almost at capacity. We are filled. And when she said 96%, she's talking about 96% out of a total of some 52 or probably 50 ICU beds. But deliberately using the percentage figure to drum up fear in the minds of the population, to have you all thinking that we are almost at a critical mass. Now, what she should be saying is that how much ICU beds they would have added to the system from since inception of this entire COVID-19 virus to now. What have they done to the system? And if you are just at 50 beds, if you've added beds through that period and you're just at 50 beds, then you haven't been doing anything significant. You haven't done anything to improve, but you're talking about the 96% of ICU bed trying to force people, to get people in their minds to go and take the vaccine. Vaccine is a choice. Everything is a choice in this country. For now, I mean, one would argue against that, having seen what took place in Parliament. But as of now, this whole thing about vaccine, it's still a matter of choice. I mean, if the Ministry of Health was honest with regards to what's transpiring with this entire COVID-19, that there wasn't two sets of rules, that it wasn't flip-flopping on your policies. Now you have safe zones, but kids back out of school, whether they have COVID-19, you have the COVID-19 vaccine or not, just flip-flopping on your entire policies. I mean, at one point in time, they started whereby the prime minister wasn't going to beg for vaccine, and now you have vaccine. Like I said, those words are deliberately being used, and it's disingenuous for someone like Dr. Richards, who is appointed to different state boards. You and I both know when you're appointed to state boards that your political allegiance is with the government, that your that she's put in a professional career to question. I mean, how are we to even trust someone like that? Is she given real professional advice, or is she just given advice to keep the Ministry of Health in a good image? Is she playing politics? She herself needs to make a choice and decide whether she wants to be a state official or she wants to be a professional person. Because she can't have them. She can't have it. She can't have it both. It just doesn't work like that. People wouldn't trust you in that regard. You have a next one, Dr. Hines, who it's alleged how he received a scholarship from the PNM government to pursue his medical thing. I have no idea if that is true or not. But if those things are true, and that knowledge is out here, people cannot and they will not trust you. But like I said, I have this feeling that they are drumming us up for another lockdown, and just like how the current lockdown we're in is horrible, the next one is going to be even worse. I mean, we are under a state of emergency. There's still infections going on. Clearly, the state of emergency is not working. And if it's not working, then why even attempt or even try to have another one renewed? I mean, if it is that the vaccine, if it is that your vaccine needs, then you can still get COVID-19. Why continue to have a lockdown? Why pursue all these safe zones and all that stuff? There has to be a new method. There has to be some new ideas. And those new ideas, as I've said before, has to start with the new and fresh faces at the Ministry of Health. Okay, so I think that's what I wanted to say in this episode. I think that's the major issues that took place in this week, especially with regards to what transpired in Parliament. So I want to close off on that note and tell you guys make sure you have a safe and enjoyable week, and see you next time for episode number 46.